Hello. I'm just gonna start talking. I hope that's okay. I really wanted this to be like a little bit of a diary entry. I've been meaning to do this for weeks, but every time I go to sit down, I just don't feel into it. And even right now, I'm in a little bit of a mood. I'm in a little bit of a funk, which I'll explain why. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. If I keep putting it off, then the baby's gonna be here soon, and then I won't have this to look back on, and I won't have that experience to share with you. I'm currently 38 weeks pregnant, 38 weeks and a day, but I'm gonna take you back to December. Right at the beginning of my third trimester is really when symptoms started to like pop up a little bit more. I started having some more heartburn, and I was having lots of cramps and uncomfortability after my shifts at work and things like that. So I cut back a little bit on my work hours, where I was only doing like 6-hour shifts, and then I cut down to about 4 hours. I mean, generally everything was going pretty good. I wasn't miserable, I just was uncomfortable in certain moments or after a really long day. Fast forward to 32 weeks, which was the first week of February, we had an ultrasound where they were gonna look at the size of the baby, position of where she's at. Luckily, she was head down already and like getting ready to go, like in the right position. But they told us that she was a little bit small, that she was only currently at that time 4 pounds, 2 ounces. And that, like, Logan's able to go with me to the ultrasounds, but he's not able to go to the appointment. So usually he'll come in for the ultrasound and then leave and go back to work. On that day, I kind of wish he had stayed, but it's not his fault. We didn't know. But when I got the news that they thought she was going to be, or that she is a little small, I just sat in my car and I sobbed. I felt personally responsible because I hadn't gained very much weight at that point. I had actually at that point been the same weight on the scale since Thanksgiving. So from Thanksgiving to pretty much Valentine's Day, I was the same number on the scale, even though my belly was growing. And that just, it messed with my head a little bit. I was like, am I not eating enough? Am I not eating enough healthy things, like with vitamins and nutrients to give her what she needs? And I started to doubt myself. And it's just, whew. Okay, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent with that because it is what it is. But I was a little bit hard on myself there for a few days, feeling like it was my fault. And I know that there is that 15% plus or minus error when it comes to like sizing the baby and using ultrasound for such. So I held on to that in my mind for a little bit. Where I come from with that mindset is that I do have 2 older children. They're 12 and 10 years old. My 12-year-old came at 38 weeks plus 4 days, and he was 8 pounds, 5 ounces. My daughter, who's 10, came at 38 weeks plus 2 days and was 8 pounds, 2 ounces. So when I hear that this baby isn't at the same like place that they were at that time, it just, I don't know, it messed with me a little. I was like, what if something's wrong and all of that. So then they decided to do a follow-up ultrasound at 36 weeks where they told me that she's still on the smaller-ish side, but is definitely within like the comfortable range. Everything's going to be fine. She seems to be developing fine. And they said she was 6 pounds, 4 ounces. So now 2 weeks later, I'm 38 weeks and I just had my appointment today. I was hoping we would be able to do a membrane like sweep, but I was only 1 centimeter dilated, 50% effaced, and that's about it. He said something about my cervix is tilted in a good position, so the moment she's like ready to come, she's going to like, it's going to happen pretty dang quickly is what he said. But that she was still pretty high up in there. So I don't think she's gonna be coming this week. I think I had it in my mind, and this is why I'm in a little bit of a funk today, is that my other 2 came the week of 38. And to hear that this one is a little bit smaller and probably isn't coming this week. I mean, the doctor keeps saying he thinks she's coming this week, but after hearing that I've been the same dilation and effacement for the last 2 checkups. I'm like, she's not coming this week, is she? Which I feel silly because Wednesday is St. Patrick's Day and I bought her like a cute little outfit. I'm sure I could still do something with it, but I definitely had my heart set on having her here this week. So to hear that she's not going to be, I'm a little, I don't want to say disappointed because that sounds super negative, but maybe I had, I guess I just had my hopes up and it doesn't look like that's going to be happening. This is literally the most prepared I have been for the newborn stage or babyness than I ever have been my whole life. So maybe that's why I'm starting to get a little antsy and a little impatient. I just want her here. And I want to introduce her to the pups. Come here, Nora. You say hi to everybody. Someone has been cuddly and she puts her paw on my belly and then Amelia will like kick her. And it's the cutest thing ever. Oh, yes, that's the story of life. I felt like I had a plan. I felt like, I was like, okay, here's my to-do list. I need to make sure that all of this is done by such and such date. And I've hit all of those to-do things. And now I'm kind of like, what do I do? And in regards to the heartburn side of things, if I didn't mention so, I waited and waited and put off taking Prevacid or any sort of like antacid medicine other than Tums. Of course, I was taking Tums, but I put off anything else for fear that it would do something. I started taking Prevacid about a week ago though. Oh my gosh, night and day, magical. I will never go back. If this was to happen to me again, that'll be, you know, my second line of defense. Start with Tums and teas and things like that and avoiding certain foods. But it definitely got to the point where no matter what I was eating, I would have this indigestion and burning feeling in my throat. And ever since starting the medicine, amazing, amazing. I thought I'd just throw that in there and share that. If you are going through that, give it a try. As long as your doctor says it's cool. Mine said it was okay. And I'm so glad I finally gave in and tried it out. I almost forgot to tell you like the crazy thing that's been happening these last 2 weeks. So let's start back on our second date. Logan and I are down at my apartment pool and he's talking to me and I'm ignoring him because I'm looking past him at like a bush and there's like a little hummingbird. And he's like, are you okay? And I was like, there's a hummingbird. I'd never seen one in the wild before, only pictures. And I was so amazed. And he's like, well, hummingbirds make me think of my grandpa. And he told me how his grandpa had passed a little bit before we had met. So I never had the chance to get to know him other than like the stories that I've heard, right? So fast forward to now, the last 2 weeks or so in the morning, we have had the same exact hummingbird come into our yard and hang out here for a bit, get close to us. Like he's not afraid of us whatsoever. Like there was one morning I wanted to get a picture of him, so I'm out there with my camera and I'm running around in my bra and underwear and my bare belly out there. And he comes so close and like flutters and touches my stomach and I don't know, it was just
magical.
It was magical. Don't make fun of me.
Magical.
So why that story is significant to, you know, my birth and Amelia and everything is that my OB, go figures, is going to be out of town this Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So going into my 39th week, and my chances of delivering during that time are pretty dang high, and my doctor's not going to be around. And I chose this practice because he's the only doctor that's in the practice, whereas like with Anthony and Sophia, I went to a place where there was like 5 or 6 doctors. You really didn't know who was going to be on call. It was kind of luck of the draw. So to hear that I was going to kind of go through that process again, I was a little bit bummed. But when we heard the name of the doctor, Dr. Leonard, which is what Logan's grandpa's name is, and then after our experience with this hummingbird being all around us and super close, not afraid of us, I don't know, I have a feeling she might come this weekend. And yeah, I think it's just a crazy coincidence that everything is kind of matching up in that way, and maybe she'll come this weekend. Who knows? Basically at this point, now we wait.